take that and say, okay, in this case, I'm going to do a detailed view. Simple view does not refresh the screen. It just does the job until it's done. And you can stop it, but you won't know where you're at. In this tool, if I leave detailed done, I can actually see when it finds files. It'll tell me I found 5 JPEGs, and so I'll know when I have something that's valuable for me to look at. So I'm going to leave detail, and I'm going to say scan. And so it'll switch to this screen here where it's going block by block. And as it finds stuff, it's telling you down here now which files and what it's looking for. And even while it's scanning, I can just like hover over a box, and they'll tell me, oh, I found 2 files here that I was asking for. Or if I keep on going, I can find, you know, however many files, specific documents. And if I want to know what they are, I can click on them, and they'll tell me in a list what they are. And in many cases, sometimes this crashes. Open in hex editor, it actually goes and looks at the disk and tries to pull it up. So maybe I got a false positive or I got something. Huh? Yeah, this is doing it read-only. Now, you are plugged into an operating system that knows how to make changes. So Windows may make changes or something else may make changes. But I'm on a DD image, so I'm not making any modifications to the DD image. So this is read-only at this segment here. So I can actually go and pull it up and actually get you know, my JPEG header, and I know it's a JPEG. It's not a false positive. You know, you could even go down and go further and see if there was actually any EXIF information. So I actually have EXIF information. So I've got what my canon was and blah, blah, blah. So it is a picture. So that means I'm pretty good. I can actually stop this now and say, screw this, I don't want to wait 5 hours. So you hit stop, and it just stops this process, and then it'll come down here and give you extra files found. Now there's 2 things. Recognized means I found an MFT, and maybe I can tell you something from the catalog itself. But the extra files are what I asked for. Those are the things I scanned for. So I'm going to go and pull up extra files, and it just parses through and says, okay, fine, here's the ones I found. And you can go and see your list of whatever the files are. So I could pick a file and click on it. Now you could see right away that looking at this, I got something wrong. Now it is typically the same picture. If you look at this one, you can tell, look, this segment's the same, this is the same, this is the same, the same picture. It's not from another slice. It's not from someplace that's off. So I'm probably right on my slice size. I'm probably wrong about the order, because there's still parts of the same picture. You can see parts of my video collection and stuff in here in the same slices. So in this case, I know that more than likely my order is incorrect and not my slice size, because it's not from a different picture. Does that make sense? You guys good with that so far? So now, here's where the benefit of a program like this comes in pretty handy. And you know, live demos, it's always the same. It's not going to show me my scan information over here to actually make changes. After I've actually scanned some files, I can actually have to go back up to my RAID array, and I have to make changes. So if I know that I'm probably good with 64K, I can actually do the drop-down box and switch to the next arrangement, or move them myself manually if I want to just shuffle them around. So the next one in the choice, since these 4 are the standards, I would stick with these standards or move on to a custom one. But so left synchronous continuous is my next choice. So I'm going to select that one, and then since I've got apply all changes immediately, this is where demos go wrong. When I actually go back to my extra files found, it redid the list I already had. I don't have to rescan or continue on. It re-put them back together in its order. So I'll go pick the file that I actually had, and bam. And so in a few seconds, I can try to figure out visually where I stand with these, rather than trying to use some fancy $10,000 RAID reconstructor, blah, 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 blah. Same thing for RAID 0, anything. And for 79 bucks, I mean, come on, really. So that was my demo. That's what I have. Any questions? Thanks.
Are you familiar with the Drobos?
Yes.
So are they overpriced or very overpriced?
The Drobo is actually a very intelligent device, though. Because you can put drives in that are different sizes, it will dynamically change the type of RAID that it uses on the fly. So it will actually figure out. Now, if you put 4 drives in at the same size, they automatically are RAID 5. If they're any other order, they are different. I mean, and I want to stick with RAID 5 because I trust it. I know what it is, and I know they have some pretty robust formulas, and I've done recoveries from them before. Not that there's a problem with that, because I've done them from everything. So, but I mean, I like the devices. I think it's a very quick and easy, simple way.
I'm not getting one, 'cause it'd be nice if I could buy like a 1 terabyte drive now, and then in a few years I buy like a 3 terabyte drive,
Yeah.
or something like that, and just keep
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just don't necessarily want to. It won't tell you what RAID, what the layout is that it's using. It won't tell you I'm using a mirror or I'm using a. You'll have to kind of guess because you'll know what your sizes are and what the output was, so you can kind of calculate what that is. But I don't like that I don't know. That's my problem, is that I don't know. If I know it's RAID 5, I know I can reconstruct it if you screw it up. So, or your machine smoked and I don't need it. Because sometimes what happens is 5 years down the road, you've still got that device, but no one else can get that device anymore. And if it smokes, that's what's happening with a lot of Lacy drives. I've got like a collection in the back of all the boards that are custom. And because those Lacy drives, a lot of them are custom, and you end up with one that has like 4 plugs on it, it may not be standard. So you need to go back to that working board to actually get it running again. I want to know what it's doing. I don't want to be like the guy who buys it at the store and says RAID on the box and it's really an AIDS. So that doesn't work. Those are photographers, by the way. Yeah.
A couple questions. First of all, whenever you pull up an image in your previous example, and you see that something's screwed up, how do you know that that's not a result of, say, a controller,
Right.
a faulty controller?
Well, when you're doing your physical recovery, like I actually use several devices, like I use a deep spar disk imager, it'll actually give me a report of the sectors that I have errors on, and so I will know how many I have. And so instead of testing just one picture, like I could have shown, I could have gone through 20 pictures, but I didn't know for time whether we'd make it or not. You have to look at multiple pictures to try to figure out if you're looking at something that's corrupt, and then you've got to go look at that like I just did when I said, oh yeah, it's a Canon or something, it's not a false positive, because you can have FFD8FF in a row and it be a false positive and not even be a picture and be something else, or encryption for that standpoint. But so if you get a list like this, like I got a pretty robust list, I could just keep going down the pictures until I feel confident that I've got 5 or 10 good ones versus 5 or 10 bad ones, whether or not it's actually a picture or not, or it's a false positive. Or switch to GIFs and do something small and see if you can actually get something small back. You can kind of start figuring that out a little bit. But most of the time you're looking at physical damage. You're looking at a drive that most of the time it's like a DMA problem, like there's actually a memory problem on the device itself. And when data is transferred on a hard drive into the drive's memory, like you have a 2 meg cache, it transfers it into there. It actually has corruption coming out of there over the bus back to your device. You can switch to PIO mode, or you can do it in reverse. When you do it in reverse, it doesn't actually use the cache in the same method. It only transfers one segment at a time. And you can actually, in some cases, choose how much you want to write out from the buffer, so it's not going across the bus with 256 bytes at a time. So there's a way to do that. But that's a little bit before this. So, but I'll be happy to go through it or go watch my videos too. I've got like 50 hours online of that, of all that. So.
Is this tool able to recover things like Linux off the RAID?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No problem there.
And it doesn't matter the order because it's sort of super block on each drive.
Right. It'll figure it out. It'll actually tell you or give you some feedback on that as well. So. Yes, and like I said, even for like dynamic, it'll actually give me the feedback right away. I don't have to go searching for it, like some other tools that you actually whip open a hex editor. Like if you wanted to try this in a higher end package like X-Ways Forensics or something, it'll actually give you more feedback as well. You'll actually be able to tell and do this in a couple of seconds as well. And Runtime Suite is very similar to this. They actually have a virtual image. I can actually do the demo. No, there's not enough time. You can do the same thing in Runtimes. It'll do the entropy test. It'll try to figure out the order. Even though it doesn't tell you it's right if it doesn't know, you can figure out what it is pretty quickly and dynamically open it in something that actually is like a hex editor you can parse through the NTFS, because every NTFS record is only 1024 bytes, and you can actually figure out from the records and the cluster where the JPEG is and what you want to test pretty quickly.
Does it really matter what controller created the RAID?
Yes, it matters from the order. There's like 5 or 6 different ways that the controller does things with offsets, and then whether or not the order of which one they chose from the order standpoint. Yes, it does matter. So if you're using Adaptec versus 3-ware, they are different. You have to look them up and find out from the spec which one they're using, if you can get that information.
What about something like a Sun A1000 extra?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, Sun. I'd have to go and look and see from a standpoint of, but I could still actually extract a picture and try to figure it out from its format. But
That's a UFS file.
yeah, UFS file system. Yeah, it'll do UFS too. This won't be a problem with UFS. But X, if